Detroit Pistons, they got game two. They got game two. And this changed everything for me, if I'm honest. It changed everything for me. Look, I am not going to act like I have not underestimated this entire team this entire season. I have completely underestimated them. I underestimated their collective talent and how it was all going to come together. I didn't see Cade Cunningham becoming second team All NBA. Now, granted, some of these things, have been unforeseeable. We didn't see Philadelphia completely collapsing. Tyrese Maxey and Paul George and Joel Embiid. I mean, sure, some injuries, but a complete collapse. I don't think we saw that. Milwaukee, Dame being out, and them struggling all year. I don't think we saw Miami taking the fall that they did, even though we saw the Jimmy thing evolving. And so a lot of things have shifted and evolved. LaMelo Ball being out almost the whole season. Once again, just all these different things created this space that the Pistons just shot through. And I tell everybody all the time, one of the number one factor for winning is your health. If your team is healthy, you're going to win. If your team is not healthy, you're going to struggle. Well, that didn't seem to apply to the Detroit Pistons, who had a major blow in losing Jaden Ivey midway through the season at the beginning of the new year. Somehow, someway, they have been able to keep pace. The Detroit Pistons, all the way into a number 6 seed, they have completely blown the doors off my expectations. I had them winning 30 to 35 games at the most. They got to 45. And then they came into a playoff series against the New York Knicks, and I thought the Knicks were going to turn it up. I thought they were going to go big, which they did actually look really good when they did for that short stint. But then something happened in this series. And I would have to say I didn't foresee this happening. Jalen Brunson's ego became bigger than his entire team. It became bigger than winning. Despite his team's success without him, despite OG Anunoby playing well and Mikal Bridges stepping up and guys figuring out how to win with defense and playing together, he turned it into a pissing contest. Who had the bigger dick between him and Cade Cunningham? And I would have to say, Jalen, once again, coming up short. Coming up short. And I mean that in the double entendre way that is presented. He's shorter and shorter. He made it about him instead of playing as a team. He's sitting there hunting for fouls and trying to get Asar Thompson in foul trouble. And to be honest, in game two, it worked. But it was sloppy. It totally took his team out of the flow of their offense. It bogged down their offense. They couldn't even hit 100 points in the game. And it looked ugly. And yet the Detroit Pistons once again rose to the occasion. And they won ugly. They won however the Knicks wanted to bring it. In fact, it was probably the Detroit Pistons bringing it more than I would say the New York Knicks. The Detroit Pistons made it a point all season long to play Detroit basketball. And that was not just the Detroit Pistons of recent years, but more so the Detroit Pistons of lore, the Detroit Pistons of old, the Detroit Pistons of those bad boy teams that won championships. That was defensive first, that was physical, that was in your face, hard hitting, hard hat, lunch pail, come to work every day. Let's get it in. This team has come together. And even without Isaiah Stewart, who is pretty much the heart and soul of this team, their culture is built around Isaiah Stewart and who he has been and continues to be for them. And even with him being out, this team was able to come together and take game two. Now, it's funny because, listen to all the different comments. Depending upon how game two goes, it really reshapes how you look at the whole series. Had the Detroit Pistons not given up a 21-0 run, this series is probably 0-2 New York down going into Detroit down 2 games. If not for that 21-0 run that only managed to allow them to barely scrape out a victory. Remember, it was at 6 points with a minute to go before they started doing the fouls back and forth. So when you kind of take the full context of this series, Detroit has been the better team. Detroit has been the better team through and through in this series. And Cade Cunningham showed up. Game 2, he showed up as the superstar that he is. I think at this point, he's a superstar. And when I say superstar, I mean he can go toe to toe with any other superstar, bona fide player out there. It doesn't matter if it's Donovan Mitchell. Doesn't matter if it's Nikola Jokic. Doesn't matter if it's Kawhi Leonard. Doesn't matter if it's Luka. Doesn't matter if it's Anthony Edwards. Whoever it is in front of him, he can go toe to toe with them. And he showed that in no greater place than the Garden in Game 2 of the NBA playoffs. Shout out to Cade Cunningham. Shout out to Cade Cunningham, rising to the occasion, stepping up, being the man. That is not an easy task. It is not an easy task. The referees didn't want Detroit to win. The fans was on they behind. They was on them from beginning to end. And yet this team was able to rally around Cade, who put who put the pedal to the metal, gas all the way, floored it from beginning to end, and carried this team. You know, a few things that I wanted to point out from the first game that I had mentioned. I said the Detroit Pistons have to speed up the pace of this game if they're going to have a chance to win it. The Detroit Pistons are going to have to play faster. They can't walk the ball up and play slow. And wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? This team was running even on made baskets, pushing the tempo, pushing the pace. And they were able to put the New York Knicks on their heels. And it allowed Cade Cunningham to get downhill. Now, what's crazy is as much as the veteran shooters, or just the veterans in general, showed up in a major way in game 1 and gave them a chance to win that game, and Cade Cunningham did not show up fully as himself. Had a really rough game, probably one of his worst games of the season. It was almost like the exact opposite in this game. It was almost like the exact opposite happened, where you now have the veterans struggling to shoot. I think that there was a time where they had missed 12 threes in a row. Some of them were really good looks, too. Even down the stretch, man, I was sweating. Malik Beasley was out here missing threes, wide open threes in the corner of all places to put the game away. And yet, Cade Cunningham led the way. Now, Dennis Schroeder had some big minutes. He made some big shots, especially down the stretch, and finally breaking that three-point lid and hitting that three-pointer that, man, that thing bounced around. It could have sat up there for an hour. It was just bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. All of a sudden, you're like, are you going to go in? It's like, bounce again. I guess I'll go in. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those, like, damn, you going to play with our emotions like that. But the reality is, this team was able to rally and get it done. But there are some observations that I want to point out, especially moving into a game 3 in Detroit. I do not think that the New York Knicks are going to deploy the heliocentric Jalen Brunson offense moving forward. I doubt that. It's clear that that does not work. It does not produce enough offense. It does not produce enough points. It does not produce enough shot opportunities, quality looks. It takes his teammates out of the game. And I doubt they have that approach again. I think you see Jalen Brunson as more of a facilitator and a leader than somebody who's in a pissing contest with Cade Cunningham. And I think as a result, what we're going to see is the New York Knicks have a much more balanced attack. And at the same time, I also think that we're going to get the best of both worlds from the Detroit Pistons offensively. I think you're going to get the veterans to show up, whether they're spectacular or not, whether they're game 1 level production or not. They're going to show up and they're going to be much better than they were last game. They're going to shoot the ball a lot better. And I also think Cade Cunningham is going to once again be the best player on the court. The big question becomes the defense. One, does Isaiah Stewart come back? How's that knee? I've said it before. Do not sacrifice Isaiah Stewart for this playoff run. Don't do it. Don't do it. If his knee is not a go, if it's not good to go, don't put him out there to hurt himself. Do not sacrifice him. And don't let him sacrifice himself. I know he's a warrior. He wants to go out on his shield. He wants to give it all for his team. But here's the thing, man. You looked real hobbled last game. You looked real hobbled. I was concerned. By the time that he came out the game, I was already mad concerned. I was like, man, the way that you're hobbling on that knee, the way that you're reaching down, the way that you can't seem to move, man, I hope that something hasn't already happened and they just haven't told us yet. I'm gonna be honest. If Isaiah Stewart's out in game 3, I don't think he's coming back. I think it's worse than inflammation. So I'm just gonna leave that there. And the big question for the Detroit Pistons becomes, can they continue to carry the defense with a more balanced attack? And I want to point this out. Asar Thompson's presence on the court is essential for this team, for its defense, its ability to get out in transition, to generate offense, to cover the perimeter. It's much more than just guarding Jalen Brunson. It's his ability to make so many dynamic plays, whether it's offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, whether it's ability to block a shot, contest a shot, to close out on a shooter, which is the difference between an open three or them having to put it on the ground, because his speed and his size and athleticism is so much more elite than a Tim Hardaway Jr. or Malik Beasley. So those guys can give it all they've got, but it's a 6'2" or 6'4" player closing out on you. Jalen Brunson doesn't even see them, let alone a Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby. You need size on the perimeter, and Cade Cunningham can only do so much for you. When I see what the New York Knicks did offensively last game and the first game, I don't think that that's how they come into Detroit. I think it's going to be a balanced attack, which is going to mean that they're going to need all hands on deck on that perimeter. You're going to get a full dose, not just of Karl Anthony Towns trying to redeem his horrible second half performance or disappearing act. Most of that was due to Jalen Brunson kind of hawking the ball, but he's gonna come out there ready to show out. He's gonna shoot that ball all game long. But you're also gonna have guys like Mikal Bridges. You're also gonna have guys like OG Anunoby, and they're gonna look to exploit the smaller perimeter players of the Detroit Pistons. One of the things that they often try to do is they leave their starters on the court after Asar Thompson comes out, knowing that the Pistons are going to go small, and they see that as an opportunity for their starting guards and perimeter players to get off, because they're not going to get off when they have Asar Thompson and Cade Cunningham there. So what that means is that the Detroit Pistons are going to have to somehow either protect Asar Thompson, or he is going to have to elevate his game to ensure that he does not get into foul trouble. I don't think that we see the foul baiting Jalen Brunson that we saw in the past. I don't think that that's who shows up. I think he's going to do, a good amount of it if he can get you on a pump fake, but I don't think he's going to be searching for it as much. I think he hears the media chatter. He understands people know that it's ugly basketball, that New York Knicks fans are looking at him sideways. It's just an ugly way to play, and it's diminishing his perception in the league, even with his own peers. I don't think his peers like it, but more than anything, it hasn't been working for his team. As much as he's been able to get his numbers, it's been ugly numbers. It's been inefficient numbers. It's been numbers that have been at the sacrifice of his team being in an opportunity to win and playing their best basketball. And so I don't think that that's what we get in game 3. So the Detroit Pistons are going to have to be ready for a full-on attack from the entire New York Knicks offense. And that means guys moving off the ball, backdoor cuts by Mikal Bridges, guys looking to, screen away, cut through, find a guy in the post, getting a mismatch, moving that ball around. And they're going to need to make sure that they can contain the 6'8" Mikal Bridges, 6'7" OG Anunoby, 6'5" Josh Hart, who many times can play like he's 6'8" and 6'9". We're going to need to make sure that our perimeter defense is steady. Now, I do think that Ron Holland is going to get a little bit more playing time in game 3. It's at home. They're going to want that energy, him flying up and down the court. I think he has a good game. I'm really hoping that Jalen Duren gets unlocked eventually. Once again, he ended the game with only 4 shot attempts. 4 shot attempts after making his first two in the first quarter. He's not shooting the ball. Outside of getting a one off dunk here, outside of maybe an offensive rebound and put back there, he's not really playing aggressively. And his matchup against Karl Anthony Towns is one that he should be able to take advantage of every single time. Every single time. He should be attacking Towns over and over, getting him on his heels, seeing if he could put him in foul trouble, putting pressure on the rim, forcing that perimeter defense to collapse down and then making the appropriate read. I think that that's something that we see in game 3. I'm hoping for that. I'm truly hoping for that. But I think game 3 ends up being a Detroit Pistons win. I think they're going to ride the wave of that energy. They're going to get out and run. They're going to push the tempo and the pace. And despite the more balanced attack, I also think the Pistons are going to have a more balanced attack as well. But I'm curious what you all think. What do you think the Detroit Pistons are going to focus on for game 3? What are the adjustments? You always have to make adjustments because you have to anticipate what the other team is going to do too, not just stick to what's working, because adjustments will get made. They have a couple of nights off before they play again. I think the next game, somebody let me know in the chat. I believe the next game is going to be on Friday, correct? Tuesday off, Wednesday, either Thursday or Friday. But either way, curious what you all think the adjustments are going to be. Um, I kind of got to get out here. I got to get out a little, faster today. So I'm not going to have as much time to take all the different chat comments. Um, but if you stuck with me through the full video, put a little basketball on your comment after the video post and let me know what you think the adjustments are going to be for the Detroit Pistons. Who do you think needs to step up? I think there's a lot of opportunity for guys to have a really big series. Cade Cunningham is already doing his thing. The veterans are going to be steady. And I think between Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren, they're going to have opportunity to really show up and really put the world on notice that they're here. I think Asar Thompson has to be tired of hearing his brother's name over and over, and his name is not mentioned in the same right. Jalen Duren, I'm not sure what your driving motivation is. I know it's your teammates to show up for them, but I kind of want to see you want to be great. I want to see you look at Karl Anthony Towns and be like, man, this dude can't hold me. This dude can't hold me. And show us. I want to see that. I want to see you put pressure on Towns. I want to see you big boy him, put him under the rim, put your shoulder into him, and dunk on him with 2 hands. You're too physical, you're too athletic, and he doesn't want any of that smoke. But you gotta have that fire to have that smoke. But hey, once again, it's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. I'm gonna get at y'all next time. Peace.